First contact and false assumptions. The azure skies of Kepler 452 bits stretched endlessly above the human settlement of Novaterra. Established just 30 years ago, the colony had grown from a collection of prefabricated habitats into a thriving community of over 10,000 people. Gleaming solar arrays captured the energy of the distant sun, while vast agricultural domes produced crops adapted to the alien soil. Commander Maya Chen stood on the observation deck of Novaterra's command center, her dark eyes scanning the settlement she'd helped build. At 45, Maya had spent nearly half her life on this distant world, guiding its growth from a scientific outpost into humanity's first successful extrasolar colony. Commander, we're detecting an anomaly entering the system. Lieutenant Raj Patel's voice crackled through her comm. Mass readings suggest it's large. Very large. Maya frowned. Natural object. Negative. It's decelerating. Current trajectory will bring it into orbit within 6 hours. A chill ran down Maya's spine. In all of humanity's exploration, they had yet to encounter intelligent alien life. There had been microbes on Mars, simple aquatic creatures beneath Europa's ice, but nothing that built spacecraft. Alert status 1, she ordered. I want all non-essential personnel in shelters. And Raj, activate the Sentinel Protocol. The Sentinel Protocol was a contingency plan many considered paranoid, a series of measures designed to protect humanity's knowledge and genetic diversity in case of hostile contact. Maya had championed it against significant opposition. Now, she prayed it wouldn't be necessary. 6 hours later, the object entered orbit. It was a vessel of breathtaking size and beauty, nearly 5 kilometers long with a pearlescent hull that seemed to shimmer with its own internal light. No visible engines, weapons, or ports marred its sleek surface. It's broadcasting, Raj reported, his voice tight with tension. Some kind of signal across multiple frequencies. Put it through. The command center's speakers emitted a series of melodic tones that shifted and changed, growing more complex. Then, suddenly, words, perfect English words in a voice that sounded almost human. Greetings, children of Earth. We are the luminary, travelers of the Great Void. We come in peace and friendship to welcome you to the galactic community. Maya exchanged glances with her senior staff. Children. This is Commander Maya Chen of Novaterra Colony. We welcome you in the name of humanity. Your ship is impressive. A soft chuckle came through the speakers. Thank you, Commander. We have traveled far to find you. Your radio signals reached our monitoring stations, and we were quite surprised to discover a new spacefaring species in this sector. May we send representatives to speak with you directly? Maya hesitated only briefly. Of course. We'll prepare a landing zone. 3 hours later, Maya stood with a small delegation as a shimmering disk descended from the massive ship. It touched down with barely a whisper, and a section of its surface became transparent, revealing 3 tall, slender beings. The luminaries stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, with elongated limbs and bodies that seemed to glow with an inner light. Their skin was pale blue, almost translucent, revealing complex circulatory systems beneath. They had no visible hair, and their large almond-shaped eyes contained swirling galaxies of color. Commander Chen, said the foremost being, its mouth moving in perfect sync with the words, I am Emissary Talon. It is our great pleasure to meet you. The emissary bowed deeply, a surprisingly human gesture. The pleasure is ours, Maya replied, bowing in return. This is truly a historic moment for humanity. Indeed, the emergence of a new spacefaring species is always cause for celebration. Talon gestured broadly. Your colony is impressive for one so young. You've accomplished much in the brief time since you left your homeworld. There was that word again. Young. Something about the luminary's tone, subtly condescending, like an adult praising a child's crayon drawing, made Maya's diplomatic smile feel strained. We've worked hard to establish ourselves here, she said carefully. Of course. Talon nodded. All young species face challenges when taking their first steps among the stars. That is why we luminary have, for millennia, taken it upon ourselves to guide emerging civilizations, to help them avoid the pitfalls that can befall the inexperienced. Over the next few days, the luminary made themselves at home on Novaterra. They brought gifts, advanced medical technology, energy systems that made the colony's fusion reactors look like primitive campfires, and seeds for crops that could grow in Kepler 452 bits of soil without modification. The colonists were largely ecstatic. The luminary technology would accelerate their development by centuries. But Maya couldn't shake her unease. Every interaction with the aliens reinforced their view of humans as novices, children taking their first faltering steps into a universe the luminary had mastered long ago. "Your quantum computing efforts are quite impressive," Talon remarked during a tour of the colony's research facilities. "With some refinement, they might approach the efficiency of our tertiary navigational systems." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the colony's chief scientist, smiled tightly. "We're always eager to learn." "And we are eager to teach," Talon replied with that same benevolent condescension. "After all, your species has only been using electricity for what? 3 centuries. A mere eye blink in cosmic terms." Later, in the privacy of Maya's office, Elena slammed her fist on the desk. "Do you hear how they talk to us? Like we're clever pets who've learned a new trick." Maya nodded slowly. "I've noticed. But their technology is real, Elena, and it could save lives here." "At what cost?" Elena leaned forward. "They've been asking a lot of questions about Earth, about our resources, our population centers. They seem particularly interested in our rare earth elements and heavy metals." "You think they want something from us?" "Everyone wants something, Maya. The question is, what are they willing to do to get it?" That night, unable to sleep, Maya visited the colony's archives, a vast digital repository containing the sum of human knowledge, art, and history. She found herself drawn to the mythology section, scrolling through ancient tales of gods descending from the heavens. The stories were remarkably consistent across cultures separated by vast distances in time. Luminous beings coming from the sky, offering knowledge and demanding worship. Gods who were capricious, sometimes helpful, sometimes destructive. A particular Sumerian tablet caught her attention. It depicted tall, glowing figures descending from the stars, much like the luminary. The accompanying text spoke of the Anunnaki, who came from the heavens to mine Earth's gold. "Mining interests," Maya murmured. "Some things never change." Her research was interrupted by an urgent message from Raj. "Commander, you need to see this. We've detected unusual energy signatures from the luminary vessel. They're scanning the planet, deep scans right down to the mantle." "What are they looking for?" "Based on the frequencies they're using. Mineral deposits, specifically rare earth elements and heavy metals." Just as Elena had suspected, Maya felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. "Keep monitoring them, Raj, and initiate Phase 2 of Sentinel. Quietly." The next day, Maya arranged a private meeting with Talon in the colony's botanical garden, one of the few places she was certain hadn't been bugged with luminary listening devices. "Your people have been scanning our planet," she said without preamble, "rather extensively." Talon's expression didn't change, but there was a subtle shift in the luminosity of their skin. A dimming, perhaps the equivalent of a blush. "Merely scientific curiosity, Commander. We like to understand the environments our friends inhabit." "And your interest in our planet's mineral composition?" A momentary hesitation. "Resources are the foundation of technological advancement. We merely wish to assess what materials might be available to assist your development." "How thoughtful," Maya replied. "And would these assessments happen to include Earth as well?" Talon's eyes flashed, the galaxies within them spinning faster. "Earth is your homeworld. Naturally, we're curious about it. Curious enough to send probes. We've detected several small objects breaking away from your ship and accelerating toward our solar system." This time, Talon's composure cracked visibly. A misunderstanding, I'm sure. Perhaps navigational buoys to facilitate future diplomatic exchanges. Maya smiled thinly. Perhaps. As she left the garden, Maya received an encrypted message from Elena. Archives. Sublevel 3. Now, the third sublevel of the archives was restricted to the colony's highest leadership. It contained sensitive information about Earth's defense systems, technological research too dangerous for public knowledge, and certain historical data deemed too controversial for general access. Elena was waiting with an ancient-looking metal container, one of the few physical artifacts brought from Earth. "I found something you need to see," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. It was in the classified section, locked under the highest security protocols. Inside the container was a tablet made of an unfamiliar metal, covered in symbols that resembled no known human language. Yet when Maya ran her fingers over the surface, the symbols began to glow, and somehow she understood them. "This is impossible," she whispered. "How am I reading this?" Elena's eyes were wide. "It's responding to your DNA. According to the classification notes, only certain genetic markers can activate it." "Maya, do you understand what this means? This tablet isn't human technology, but it was made for humans to find." The message on the tablet was clear and devastating. Humanity was not young. It was ancient, one of the oldest sentient species in the galaxy. But thousands of years ago, facing extinction from a catastrophic cosmic event, they had made a desperate choice. They had seeded dozens of worlds with human genetic material and sent their knowledge into hiding, scattered across the stars, waiting to be rediscovered when humanity was ready. And the luminary. The tablet knew them by another name, but their nature was the same. Parasites who sought out developing civilizations, offered technological gifts to create dependency, then stripped their worlds of resources before moving on. They don't know, Maya realized. They think we're new to space, but we're actually returning to it. Her mind raced with implications. But if this is true, then somewhere on Earth, or maybe even here, there might be technology from our ancestors, Elena finished. Technology far beyond what the luminary have shown us. Maya's comm chimed with an urgent alert. "Commander," Raj's voice was tense. "The luminary are requesting permission to establish a permanent outpost near our primary mining operation." Maya looked at Elena, her decision made. "Tell them I'll meet with Talon tomorrow to discuss the details." She turned back to the tablet, which now displayed what appeared to be coordinates. "Tonight, we have some digging to do." The revelation and turning point. Under the cover of darkness, Maya led a small team to a location 15 kilometers from the colony, a series of caverns that preliminary surveys had dismissed as geologically unremarkable. The coordinates from the ancient tablet pointed them to a specific chamber deep within the cavern system. "These readings don't make sense," muttered Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, the expedition's geologist. "The rock density is all wrong. It's as if it's not natural." Maya finished for him. She placed her hand on the smooth wall before them, and just as with the tablet, something responded to her touch. Lines of light spread from her fingertips, tracing ancient patterns across the stone. With a low rumble, the wall slid aside, revealing a chamber that couldn't exist. The space beyond was vast, its ceiling lost in shadows, but what drew their stunned gazes was the complex at its center, a facility of clearly artificial design, constructed from materials that gleamed like new despite having been buried for millennia. "My God," whispered Elena. It was all true. As they cautiously entered, systems began activating around them. Soft lights illuminating walkways, displays flickering to life with symbols matching those on the tablet. The air was fresh, recycled by systems still functioning after thousands of years. This technology. Hiroshi ran his scanner over a nearby console. "It's beyond anything we have, beyond anything the luminary have shown us." At the heart of the facility, They found a chamber containing a single chair-like structure surrounded by hovering holographic displays. Maya approached it hesitantly, somehow knowing it was meant for her. "Commander, we don't know what that does," cautioned Raj. "Actually, I think I do." Maya sat in the chair, which immediately molded itself to her form. The displays around her intensified, and she felt a gentle pressure at the base of her skull as an interface connected directly with her mind. Knowledge flooded into her consciousness, not forced, but offered. She saw the history of humanity as it truly was, not a young species making its first tentative steps into space, but an ancient civilization that had once spanned hundreds of worlds. She saw the catastrophe that had nearly destroyed them, a gamma-ray burst that had sterilized much of their territory. And she saw their desperate plan to preserve their species by hiding them in plain sight, regressing their technology and memories until the danger had passed. The Luminary were revealed too, not the benevolent guides they claimed to be, but scavengers who followed in the wake of the catastrophe, claiming the abandoned technologies of decimated civilizations, building their empire on the innovations of others, while presenting themselves as the teachers and saviors of young species. When Maya finally disconnected from the interface, hours had passed, but she had what they needed. "The Luminary aren't here to help us," she told her team, her voice steady despite the weight of what she'd learned. "They detected energy signatures from this facility when we established the colony. They came because they sensed ancient technology they couldn't identify, and they want it. They plan to strip this planet of resources, take what they can from this facility, and leave us dependent on technology they control." "What do we do?" asked Elena. Maya smiled grimly. "We remind them who we really are." The next morning, Maya met with Talon as planned, but now she carried with her knowledge that had been waiting patiently for thousands of years to be rediscovered. "We've considered your proposal for an outpost," she began casually. "But before we proceed, I'd like to discuss something else." She activated a small device she'd brought from the ancient facility. A holographic display appeared between them, showing the Luminary vessel in orbit, but revealing aspects of its construction that should have been impossible for humans to detect. Talon's composure faltered. "What is this?" "A complete structural analysis of your ship," Maya replied calmly, "including the mining drones you've prepared in your launch bay, the weapons systems you claim not to possess, and the holds already configured to transport large quantities of iridium, platinum, and other elements your civilization requires. This technology is not something a young species should have." Maya finished for him. "That's the problem with assumptions, Talon. They can lead to critical errors in judgment." She activated another function on the device, and the hologram changed to show Earth, not as it appeared now, but as it had been 10,000 years ago, with massive structures on every continent that clearly weren't natural formations. "We are not children taking our first steps to the stars," Maya said, her voice hardening. "We are returning to them. Our ancestors crossed the galaxy when your species was still learning to make fire. We forgot our past because we chose to forget. A strategic retreat in the face of a threat that would have destroyed us completely." Talon's skin had paled to an almost ghostly white. "This is impossible. Our records would show." "Your records show what you found when you began scavenging the remains of civilizations devastated by the gamma-ray burst. You built your technological base on the ruins of greater species, including ours. You never created. You only imitated." Maya stood, her posture straight and proud. "The technology you've gifted us, pale imitations of what we once built ourselves. The medical advances you've shared, simplified versions of techniques our ancestors developed millennia ago." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "And right now, that ancient facility we rediscovered is broadcasting a signal, a waking call to other sites like it throughout this sector. Humanity is reclaiming its heritage, Talon. The question is, do the Luminary wish to be our friends in this new era, or would you prefer to be remembered as those who tried to deceive us?" The next day, The luminary ship departed Kepler 452b's orbit. Their farewell was brief, their promises of return noticeably absent. In their place, they left behind most of the technology they had brought, not as gifts now, but as reparations. Word spread quickly throughout the colony about what had been discovered. Teams of scientists and engineers began working around the clock to understand the ancient facility and its technologies. Within weeks, they had activated dormant systems that transformed Novaterra's capabilities. Energy production increased tenfold, new medical techniques healed injuries and illnesses previously considered untreatable, and communication systems reached across vast distances instantaneously. 3 months later, as Maya stood in the newly established Ancient Technologies Division, watching researchers study artifacts that connected them to their forgotten past, Aline approached with an excited expression. "We've decoded more of the navigation data," she announced. "There are facilities like this one on at least 20 other worlds, including 3 in nearby star systems we haven't explored yet. And Maya," her voice dropped to an awed whisper, "we've found the location of what appears to be an intact ancient human city. A major one, in the Tau Ceti system." Maya nodded, a sense of profound purpose filling her. "Prepare an expedition. It's time humanity remembered who we truly are." As news of their discovery spread back to Earth, a new era began, not of first steps into the cosmos, but of return. Humanity had been cast as young by those who didn't know better, but the truth was far grander. They weren't newcomers to the galactic stage. They were veterans who had forgotten their own history. The universe had seen them as young. They had no idea that humans were among the oldest of all. Around campfires and in classrooms across 2 worlds, the story was already becoming legend, how the luminary had come to guide what they thought was a fledgling species, only to awaken slumbering giants. How humanity, thought to be taking its first tentative steps among the stars, was actually coming home. And somewhere in the vast emptiness between stars, the luminary fleet accelerated, carrying mourning to the rest of their kind. The Olders had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same again.